Okay, yes, okay. We are now concluding our 9th annual Harlem Emergency Preparedness Day. Want to thank all that attended both in person and online. And be sure to revisit the stream on WHCREBT.org and WHCR.org. It will live there until our next event next September. Thanks for attending. Bye bye.